Welcome to this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring the ego, the inner child, and the higher self.
Sounds good.
And we've got some really fascinating excerpts here
Yeah.
from some spiritual texts
Nice.
to help guide our conversation today.
Cool.
We're going to be looking at Kyo and Ra
Awesome.
and how these different parts of ourselves really kind of impact our personal growth
Okay.
and how we connect to the universe as a whole.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to think about how these concepts aren't just these like abstract ideas, They're
Right.
actually kind of affecting you every single day in
Mm.
very real ways. And we're going to get into like not only just what they are,
Right.
but how they impact your choices, your
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. So let's dive right in and start with the ego,
Okay.
which I think often gets kind of a bad rap.
Yeah.
It's seen as this negative thing.
Yeah.
But these sources really point out that the ego actually plays like a key role
Mm-hmm.
in helping us to navigate this physical reality.
Right. You can think of the ego as like the practical manager of your life here on Earth,
Yeah.
It's responsible for setting boundaries. It's
Right.
responsible for creating that sense of self
Yeah.
and helping you kind of achieve your goals.
Right.
It's all about survival in this physical world.
I see. But the source material describes the ego as like a construct of personality.
Yes.
So is it almost like a character that we create to kind of interact with the world?
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the biggest illusions that the ego creates is this sense of duality.
Wow.
This idea that everything is either good or bad, right or wrong.
Right.
And it's that duality that sometimes kind of leads us astray
Yeah.
and causes, a lot of conflict and suffering.
Like that quote we have here, that
Mhm.
beneath the surface of every perceived difficulty or conflict,
Mm-hmm.
there lies this deeper unity.
Yes.
It's this oneness that is the true nature of reality, not the divisions that are created by the ego.
That's so true.
So it's so important to be aware of the ego's influence
Yeah.
without letting it control us.
Yeah, just recognizing that, the ego's interpretation is
Yeah.
just one perspective. It's not the absolute truth.
So it's almost like a filter through which we experience the world.
Yeah.
And that filter can sometimes distort our perception of reality.
Yeah.
And so where does the ego kind of hang out energetically speaking?
Well, the source material points to the solar plexus chakra as kind of the ego's energy center.
Okay.
And so when the chakra is balanced, you
Yeah.
feel confident, you feel empowered, you feel ready to kind of take on the world.
Like the got this feeling.
Exactly.
But if the ego's out of balance,
Yeah.
then we might see, the insecurity or the arrogance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the need to
Right.
control.
The ego is constantly kind of scanning for threats,
Okay.
trying to keep you safe and protected,
Okay.
which, is a good thing in a dangerous situation.
Right.
But it can also lead to, a lot of fear, suspicion, and really kind of holding yourself back from stepping outside your comfort zone.
It's like that security guard
Right.
that sometimes mistakes a friendly visitor
Yeah,
for someone who's dangerous.
exactly.
So how do we work with this, kind of vigilant ego
Well,
without letting it, kind of take over?
think of it like training a puppy.
Okay.
The ego loves structure. The ego loves tasks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
give it something productive to focus on.
Okay.
Something that is aligned with your conscious intentions.
Uh-huh.
And it's less likely to cause trouble
Right.
when it feels, useful and appreciated.
So I can see how that applies to everyday tasks
Right.
and goals.
Mm-hmm.
But what about when it comes to those big life decisions?
Okay.
How do we know if it's the ego's voice that we're hearing
That's a good question.
or the voice of our intuition or our higher self?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
Right.
So let's imagine for a second you're at a crossroads. You
Yeah.
have a decision to make. Right.
Maybe it's a career change or a relationship.
Yeah.
Your ego might be saying, play it safe, stick with what you know,
Right.
avoid that risk,
Right.
avoid that discomfort.
But then there's this other voice
Right.
that's kind of urging you to take that leap of faith.
Exactly.
Even though it might feel scary.
Yeah, that nudge
Mm-hmm.
could be your higher self,
Right.
guiding you toward a path that is actually in alignment with your soul's purpose,
Okay.
even if it doesn't make logical sense
Right.
to the ego.
And so how do we learn to discern between those voices?
That's the challenge.
How do we trust that inner guidance even when it goes against what
Yep.
feels safe
Mhm.
and comfortable to the ego?
That is the question. And really, that's all about developing that deeper connection
Right.
with your inner self.
Okay.
And one of the keys to that is through exploring the energy of the inner child.
Okay, so let's talk about the inner child.
Okay.
Our source material describes it as being part of our spirit.
And it's associated with joy, excitement, a natural sense of wonder.
Yes.
It's interesting how it contrasts this childlike excitement
Yeah.
with the worry
Yeah.
and mental challenges that
Yeah.
we have as adults.
Just imagine for a second, that child's pure delight
Okay.
in simple pleasures.
Okay.
A colorful butterfly,
Right.
a puddle to splash in a silly song.
Uh-huh.
The inner child is always reminding you to find that joy in the present moment,
Right.
to approach life with a sense of playfulness and curiosity.
Yeah. How do we reconnect with that joyful, carefree part of ourselves
Mm-hmm.
that maybe we've lost touch with over the years?
Well, it might sound simple,
Okay.
but one of the most effective ways is to actually talk to your inner child.
Really?
Acknowledge its presence.
Wow.
Ask it what it wants to do.
Yeah.
Ask it what brings it joy.
Okay. So we're inviting that playful energy back into our lives
Mm-hmm.
and giving it permission
Yes.
to express itself.
Exactly. And our source material even suggests, visualizing ourselves playing with our inner child,
Oh, wow.
which sounds really fun.
That does sound fun.
Yeah.
It sounds very liberating.
Here's an interesting point.
Okay.
The source material suggests that the inner child can actually be a powerful ally
Okay.
in healing old wounds
Uh-huh.
and releasing limiting beliefs.
So those negative beliefs that we may have picked up in childhood
Yes.
that are still affecting us?
Exactly. By connecting with your inner child,
Right.
you can start to identify and release those old patterns and make space for new beliefs and experiences.
So it's not just about having fun and playing games.
Right.
It's really about addressing
It is.
those deep emotional wounds
Mm-hmm.
that could be holding us back
Exactly.
from fully embracing our potential.
Meditation can be a really powerful tool for this.
Yeah.
By setting the intention to connect with and nurture that inner child, you create a safe space for healing and transformation.
So we've explored the ego's role
Yes.
in navigating this physical reality
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the importance of connecting with our inner child.
Yeah.
But there's another player in this
There
in
is.
this kind of intricate dance of consciousness.
Yes. The higher self.
The higher self.
That wise and loving aspect of ourselves
Right.
that exists beyond the limitations of our everyday experience.
So this higher self is not separate from us.
Yeah.
It's actually a part of us.
Yes.
A higher dimension of our being.
It's like a higher frequency of your being
Okay.
that holds this broader perspective and this deeper understanding of your life's purpose.
And according to the teachings of Ra, this higher self exists in the mid-sixth density,
Yeah. It's pretty futuristic.
which is very futuristic.
Mind-blowing concept.
It is a mind-blowing concept.
Isn't it? The source material describes this higher self as a being that has complete understanding of all your experiences
Wow.
and exists beyond the limitations of time and space.
It's almost like our higher self is this future version of ourselves,
Mhm.
the culmination of all of our growth and evolution.
Yeah.
And this future self, this higher self, is always there guiding and protecting us.
Exactly. But the key word is guiding, not controlling.
Okay.
The higher self respects your free will.
Right.
It's not going to force you down any path.
Okay.
It's more like, a wise mentor offering guidance and support
I see.
when you're open to receiving it.
So how do we tap into that guidance?
Yeah, how do we become more attuned to those whispers of our higher self amidst all the noise and distractions
Right.
of everyday life? That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to explore next.
So we've talked about this idea of the higher self,
Hmm.
offering guidance but not control.
Right.
How do we learn to recognize those whispers? Those nudges from our higher selves in our daily lives.
Well, one way is to really pay attention to your feelings, especially excitement.
Oh.
The source material describes excitement as this energetic signal from the higher self,
Okay.
a way of kind of pointing you towards experiences and choices that are aligned with your soul's purpose.
So that feeling of, like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Or this feels so right.
Exactly.
Even if it doesn't make logical sense.
Right.
That could actually be our higher self
It could be.
guiding us
Yeah.
towards something truly meaningful.
Think about a time when you felt that surge of excitement
Okay.
about an idea, a project,
Uh-huh.
or even a chance encounter.
Yeah.
Did you follow that excitement?
I can think of a few times when I ignored those nudges because they seemed impractical or maybe a little too risky.
Yeah.
And looking back now, I realize I probably missed out
Right?
on some amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
But how do we distinguish between, like, genuine excitement from our higher selves
Right.
and just like fleeting whims or desires that are driven by the ego?
That's a great question. And that's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
The ego's desires are often rooted in fear,
Right.
scarcity, or a need for external validation.
Okay.
But the higher self's guidance
Right.
is aligned with love expansion and a sense of purpose
Okay.
that goes beyond personal gain.
So if that spark of excitement feels expansive,
Yes.
aligned with our values,
Mm-hmm.
brings a sense of joy and purpose,
Yes.
it's more likely to be coming from our higher self.
Exactly. And it's not just about these big life decisions either.
Okay.
Those nudges can show up in subtle ways.
Right.
A sudden interest in a new subject,
Mm-hmm.
a book that seems to fall into your lap at the perfect time, an
Yeah.
unexpected invitation
Yeah.
that opens up these new possibilities. It's about being present and aware
Okay.
enough to recognize those synchronicities,
Right.
those meaningful coincidences that are often orchestrated by the universe to guide you along your path.
So we need to become more attuned to those subtle signs,
Yeah.
those whispers from the universe,
Mm.
and trust that our higher selves are always guiding us,
Yes.
even like the smallest details of our lives.
Exactly.
But what are some of the obstacles that might prevent us
Right.
from recognizing or following that guidance?
Well, the biggest obstacle is often fear.
Right.
The ego, as we've discussed, loves safety and familiarity.
Right. Stepping into the unknown, following a path that feels exciting, but maybe a little bit risky, can
Yeah.
trigger those fear-based beliefs.
Yeah, like what if I fail?
Right.
What if people think I'm crazy for
Exactly.
following this unconventional path?
And then there's just that hesitation that comes with doubt.
Mm-hmm.
We receive this nudge of inspiration, but then we start to second guess ourselves.
Yeah.
And we don't take action.
Right. You overthink it, you analyze it to death,
Right.
and eventually that spark of excitement just fades away.
It sounds like trust and surrender are really key here.
It is.
Trusting that the higher self knows
Yeah.
what's best for us,
Yeah.
even if we can't see the whole picture yet.
Mm-hmm.
And surrendering to the unfolding of our journey,
Right.
even when it takes us
Yeah.
in unexpected direction.
It can be easier said than done.
Right.
Especially when you're faced with, those really challenging situations or feeling disconnected
Right.
from that inner guidance.
So what are some practices that can help us to cultivate
Okay.
that trust and surrender?
Well, the source material talks about faith
Okay.
as an act of surrender,
Okay.
a willingness to let go of the need to control
Right.
and to trust in the wisdom of the Creator.
It's like choosing to believe that the universe has our back,
Yes.
even when things feel uncertain or chaotic.
Yeah, one of the analogies that the source material uses is that the universe is like this perfectly designed machine
Oh,
operating flawlessly according to its own laws.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Because it reminds us that there's this underlying order
There is.
to things, a flow that we can align with
Yes,
by raising our vibration and trusting the process.
exactly. So when we doubt, when we worry, when we try to force things to happen,
Right.
according to our limited understanding,
Right.
we're essentially putting our faith in fear and illusion instead of choosing to trust
Okay.
in the wisdom of the universe
Right.
and the guidance of our higher selves.
And the source material emphasizes that the universe responds to vibration.
Yes,
The energy that you put out attracts similar energy back to you.
it does.
So when we cultivate that high vibration through love, gratitude, compassion, faith,
Mm-hmm.
we become more aligned with the flow of the universe.
Yes.
And things start to fall into place.
It's like you're tuning into a higher frequency
Yeah.
where the guidance is clearer
Okay.
and the possibilities are more expansive.
So instead of getting caught up in the drama or trying to control the outcome, we can choose to trust the process, maintain a high vibration,
Yeah.
and allow the universe to kind of orchestrate the details.
Exactly. And this brings us to another fascinating concept, the idea of collective consciousness.
Ah, yes, collective consciousness is something I've always been curious about.
Yeah.
Is it like this giant mind
Mm-hmm.
that we're all connected to?
Well, the source material describes it as this social memory complex
Okay.
that becomes more accessible in higher densities.
Okay.
So imagine this vast network of shared consciousness
Wow.
where individual experiences and memories
Right.
are interwoven into this unified whole.
That's a mind-blowing concept.
It is.
But we're not quite there yet, are we?
Not quite.
We're still in this third density where
Right.
individuality is dominant.
That's true. But even in our current state, we're all energetically connected.
Okay.
Your thoughts, your
Mhm.
emotions and beliefs,
Mhm.
they create ripples in the collective field,
Wow.
influencing and being influenced by those around you.
So even though we perceive ourselves as these separate individuals, we're actually part of this like invisible web of interconnectedness,
Mm-hmm.
constantly exchanging energy and information with each other
Yes.
and with the universe.
Think about trends, fashions, popular beliefs, even collective fears and anxieties,
Right.
all emerge from this shared field of consciousness.
So when we talk about the vibe
Yeah.
of a certain place or time period,
Mm-hmm.
that's a reflection of the collective consciousness.
Absolutely. And of course, on a larger scale,
Right.
we can expand this concept to encompass all that is,
Okay.
the unified field of consciousness
Right.
from which everything arises.
It's a beautiful and awe-inspiring concept.
It really is,
It really is.
isn't it?
But if we're all connected in this way, how do our individual choices and actions impact the collective consciousness?
Right.
And conversely, how does the collective consciousness influence our individual experiences?
That's where things get really interesting,
Okay.
and that's what we'll explore next.
We were talking about the collective consciousness and how our individual energies kind of impact this vast interconnected web.
Yeah, it's wild.
So what does the source material have to say about how our personal choices, really affect this collective field?
Well, it emphasizes that, like, your thoughts and your emotions actually have a tangible impact on this collective energy field.
Really?
Yeah, like every single thought that you have, every emotion that you feel, it's like a drop of water in this vast ocean,
Okay.
contributing to the overall quality and frequency of this collective consciousness.
So if I'm having like a really bad day
Mm-hmm.
and walking around feeling grumpy and stressed,
Yeah.
I'm actually adding to the collective pool of negativity.
Well, it's not that simple, but in a way, yes.
Okay.
Because the energy that you're kind of projecting outwards, it influences the energy field around you.
Right.
And just as you're being affected by other people's energies,
Right.
you're also contributing to that collective energy field.
It makes you think twice about complaining
It does.
or indulging in those negative thoughts.
Right, because if negativity is adding to the collective negativity,
Right.
then, focusing on more positive thoughts and emotions
Yeah.
must contribute to a more harmonious collective reality.
Like those random acts of kindness
Yeah.
that brighten someone's day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that simple act has this ripple effect,
It could.
expanding outward
Yeah.
and influencing the collective in ways we can't even imagine.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And, the source material reminds us that the universe responds to vibration. When you
Oh,
maintain a high vibration, you become like a beacon of light,
okay.
attracting more positive experiences into your life
Right.
and inspiring others to do the same.
Okay, we've covered a lot today.
We have.
The ego, the inner child, the higher self, this incredible concept of collective consciousness.
It's all connected.
It's amazing how interconnected all of this is.
Yeah.
The source material also talks about a fundamental choice we all face
Okay.
in this third density, and that's the choice between service to self and service to others.
Right. It's a concept that's often misunderstood.
Okay.
Service to others, or STO, as it's often abbreviated.
Right.
It's not about becoming a doormat or sacrificing your own needs. It's
Right.
about recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings and choosing to act in ways that benefit the whole,
Right.
even when it might challenge, your ego's desire for personal gain or control.
So it's not just about being nice to people.
No.
We're doing good deeds.
No, it's about a much deeper understanding
Okay.
of our interconnectedness and acting from a place of love and compassion.
So aligning your actions with the well-being of the collective.
Yes.
Recognizing that what you do to others, you ultimately do to yourself.
Exactly. Then there's service to self, which is really prioritizing your own needs above the needs of others.
Right.
And that often involves, manipulation or exploitation
Okay.
for personal gain.
So it sounds like two very distinct paths,
Mm.
two different ways of relating to the world and each other.
Yeah, and this choice, this orientation towards service to self or service to others
Right.
really influences the direction of our spiritual growth
Okay.
and ultimately determines our readiness to transition
Okay.
to a higher density of consciousness.
So let's say someone resonates deeply with the path of service to others.
Okay.
What are some of the challenges that they might encounter as they're navigating this path?
One of the biggest challenges, and this might seem paradoxical, is actually respecting free will.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's about learning to accept other people's choices,
Okay.
even when those choices seem detrimental
Right.
or misaligned with, your own understanding of what's best.
That sounds incredibly difficult, especially when you care about someone
It
and you
is.
want to protect them
Right.
from, making what you perceive as a mistake.
Yeah, so instead of trying to save them
Right.
or force them to see things your way,
Right.
it's about trusting their ability to make their own choices and learn from their own experiences.
And recognizing that we don't always have the full picture.
Exactly.
We might think we know what's best for someone, but our perspective is limited
Right.
by our own experiences and beliefs.
True compassion is about letting go of that need to control or to fix everything
Okay.
and simply offering support and understanding without judgment.
The source material also cautions against seeing others as victims.
Yes.
It's really about empowering them
Yeah.
to find their own solutions and navigate their own challenges
Yeah.
rather than reinforcing that sense of powerlessness.
Imagine a friend who's going through a difficult time.
Okay.
Instead of offering unsolicited advice or trying to fix their problems,
Right.
you can simply listen with empathy,
Like
validate their feelings, and hold space for them
right?
to process their own experience without judgment.
It's about empowering them to find their own strength
Yeah.
and wisdom
Mm.
rather than imposing our own beliefs or solutions.
Yeah. And sometimes the most helpful and compassionate thing you can do is simply be there. Right. Offering a listening ear and a loving presence without trying to change them or control them.
This reminds me of something we were talking about earlier,
What's that?
self-awareness. It
Yes.
seems like that plays a huge role in navigating the complexities.
Absolutely. Self-awareness is essential for recognizing, your own biases,
Right.
your own motivations, your
Yeah.
own triggers.
Right.
So you can avoid projecting them onto others or acting from that place of ego
Right.
rather than genuine compassion.
So how do we even begin to cultivate that level of self-awareness
Oh.
in our everyday lives?
Meditation is a powerful tool,
Okay.
by quieting the mind
Right.
and turning your attention inward. You can start to observe those thoughts and those emotions
Right.
without judgment, and you gain these valuable insights
Mm.
into your own patterns and your own motivations.
Journaling can also be helpful too,
Absolutely.
to kind of process those experiences, explore our beliefs, and identify areas where we might be holding ourselves back.
Yes, it's all about becoming more conscious of the
Mhm.
choices that you're making,
Right.
the energy that you're projecting, and the impact that you're having on the world around you.
And remembering that self-awareness is this ongoing process,
It is.
not a destination.
It's not about perfection.
Right.
It's about progress.
There's going to be times when we slip back into old patterns,
Yeah.
and react from that place of ego.
We'll do it.
But the key is to be gentle with ourselves.
Yeah.
Learn from our mistakes
Yeah.
and just keep practicing.
Exactly. So much of this ties back to that idea that we're all playing this game of frequencies
Right.
and that the ultimate goal is to learn and to grow.
It's a powerful analogy
It is.
because it helps us see beyond, the surface level
Mm-hmm.
of our experiences and recognize that deeper meaning and purpose behind everything that's happening.
Yeah. Every challenge, every setback, every interaction,
Right.
it's all an opportunity for growth and expansion.
So instead of getting caught up in the drama or resisting what is,
Yeah.
we can approach those experiences with a sense of curiosity and openness.
Yeah. Asking yourself, what can I learn from this?
Right.
How can I use this experience to become, a wiser and more compassionate being?
And that's where the practice of zooming out can be so helpful.
Yeah.
Shifting our perspective, seeing that bigger picture,
Why?
recognizing that you're part of something so much larger than yourself.
It's about stepping back
Right.
from those little details and seeing how it fits into, the larger tapestry of your
Right,
life,
right.
the lives of those around you,
Yeah.
and even the evolution of consciousness as a whole.
And from that higher perspective,
Yeah,
it becomes so much easier to practice unconditional acceptance and allowance,
it does.
trusting that there's this divine order at play,
Oh.
even when things feel chaotic or challenging.
And that brings us to another key takeaway, the power of allowance.
Okay.
Surrendering to the flow of life.
Right.
Trusting that the universe has a plan, even when you can't see the whole picture.
So instead of trying to control everything or fix everything,
Mm-hmm.
we can simply observe, accept, and allow things to unfold naturally,
Yes.
trusting that everything is happening for our highest good.
Exactly. And from that place of allowance, you start to experience a deeper sense of peace,
Yeah.
joy, and connection to the divine flow of life.
It's been an incredible journey exploring, this intricate dance of the ego, the inner child, the higher self, and this interconnected web of collective consciousness.
It really has.
It's such a powerful reminder that we're not just these isolated individuals,
Right.
but we're really integral parts of a vast and interconnected universe,
Yeah,
each playing this vital role
we
in
are.
the unfolding of this grand cosmic symphony.
It's a beautiful and awe-inspiring vision.
It really is.
And remember, even the smallest acts of kindness and compassion
Yeah,
and understanding can have this ripple effect,
right.
creating positive change in the world around you
Yeah.
and contributing to the evolution of consciousness as a whole.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about,
That's great.
so much to explore.
I'm glad.
It feels like this call to cultivate more self-awareness, to connect with, you know, my inner child's joy,
Yeah.
to trust in the guidance of my higher self, and to really make choices that are aligned with love and service to others.
Those are great takeaways. And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Right.
There's a universe of support available to you.
Right.
From, the wisdom of the ancient teachings
Okay.
to the loving guidance of your own higher self.
Right.
So trust the process, embrace the journey,
Yep.
and keep shining your light.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been truly an enlightening and inspiring conversation.
Oh, glad.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked a flame of curiosity and inspired you to explore these concepts further.
I hope so.
Remember, this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth is an ongoing adventure.
It is.
Be patient with yourself. Trust in the wisdom of the universe and keep exploring.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
See you then.